Warning: please note what you're about to watch is a history that we all know of and still going. If you don't like this video episode, then go on to a random video one. You have been warned. Okay, we're on U.W.S. and let's go in. Quick call from them. This will all be over soon, I promise. You're telling me and picking out that the last few hours first in kind when we woke up to sirens, and now after 2 hours drive in Yorkshire. Are you sure they won't manage to without a complete bled? Give them all a hug. The last in a long time. I thought I was surprised when Mum joined the defence just in a few months ago, but I was also worried sick. I knew I have to go back. They need qualified doctors there, and we can't just let the shut out the city, can we? It's part of the being an adult, Mum smiled. It's a part of having neighbours like that. I rules, Mum, do you have to go alone? I could help. I could carry out at least. I was silent, shook her head. Eric, this isn't a game. I was being serious there. I will take care of you in the meantime, and I will call you every time I can. So keep the phone close by. We all share a big hug and can hold back tears, and I mean I managed to somehow. I was I'm out of the house now, even nobody else recognised. Before leaving, Mom just stood there and looked at us for a long time. She tried to smile so I wouldn't notice her lips. With her, I always noticed things like that, but I kept silent. I could told her, "You take care of me when," and I said I'd take care of you. Mom laughed through her tears. I said, "Yes, I would take care of both of us." And then she was speeding away back to. Well, it's just us cats here now. You're ready to be babysat. I smiled. We didn't always agree, but we were equally confused at prospective staying with Qatar. She was Mom's local friend, but didn't know her all that much. She was all right, I guess, kind of friendly, loved children also, she says, but I was 15, it was 2 years nursing it, and we didn't need to babysit. I didn't tell Mom that though. She seems to be having a hard enough time already, and didn't want to make her even more upset. That was our dad's job even after they divorced. Okay, I'm so glad your mom brought me here. We'll be safe together. I put something to the tight hug when she showed up and gave me a hug. And she her head at each. We tried hard to avoid mine, but failed. The rest of the day, we spent the wrong news. We should everyone apply the hills with blocks on the way to Kyiv. Precisely address the nation, which of course said to Jordan an execution zone. Special defense, issue an anti-tank weapon. In the evening, when we could hear the good fire explosion in the north again, we get a foothold in the hose of popping, the cracking of explosions was so loud it felt like a stray of shells might as well land on us. After mid I was anxious listening to it. One reason for leaving us in Russia was that the Northwest would be no interest for the Russians, yet here they were striking their teeth into the hope was well. It was probably close enough that I could spy it from the roof. No, don't be stupid, Harrison said. We should stay in the basement till the shooting stops. You mustn't have noticed I wasn't. Please, hey, it's gonna be fun. And I brought some more games from home and some snacks too. Can we skip the snacks? I had a serious doubt about the board games I'd like to play. I was proud of my musical mum. I have to sneak upstairs, and since I know who would be there to check if the call was over or not. I wasn't impressed, I could tell, but she was the other one. This once, she takes one for the team. How are you, baby boy? I went and asked Mom to not call me that, but as we spoke, she did it again, once or twice. I told her there was shooting in the hospital, but we were probably safe. She was glad, and kind of things were a lot more tense. Turns out the Russian brought some of us and we called teams to the city before the invasion, and there was no street fighting in some neighborhoods. Goods were being handed out by a truckload. I felt helpless that my mom was getting ready for sleepless night of fighting all alone, except for the unit she was attached to. I could hear the gunfire through the phone. It was distant, but as long as my mom was it was still too close by sight. We are going to be okay. You watch yourself out there, alright? I promise, baby boy. Tell Katya and your sister I said hi. After I went back downstairs, I did. The first day of war was coming to close, but the fight outside only got harder. Still, we got through one day. How much worse can it get? We were all going to make it. Cool, Mom. I always love war movies and video games where the characters were fearless, fight against all kinds of adversaries, and always won, of course, even if they die. It was only after completing the mission fulfilling their duties. The real war was different. It was all just an exploded air raids, sirens, and fear and armoured vehicles outside the window to remind us that people were dying only a few kilometers away from our house, and this was so cool. Where the Russians weren't even hitting us directly yet. Try not to think about how our soldiers on the front line must have felt when Mom was among them. This war wasn't an adventure anymore. Now I decided to go out into the city to look for something, as she said. She was only leaving for a little while, but then she was gone for almost 2 hours. I could tell her I was worried, but she tried not to show it. She always did that, just like her mum, and I could always tell it was just an act. By now, me and her had gotten a lot friendlier than before. We used to argue a lot, but not so much now. I suppose we were both too scared for our lives to get hung up on little things. Too bad Mum couldn't see us. Maybe it would help a bit knowing we behave ourselves. As I came back in a hurry, swinging the door wide open, and she talked loudly behind her. Her face was white as snow. I dashed towards her. What happened? What took you so long? She paused when she noticed her states. Are you okay? Yes, I just need a minute. Her voice was shaking and I took a deep breath and then looked me dead in the eye. The Russians are in the sea. I saw our soldiers shooting back. It was that the war was so much closer to us. The boys are holding them off for now, but we just have so many tanks. I saw them. They were fighting at the houses. She quickly got up. We got up and looking around. I watched her piece around the room, and I really wanted to help calm her down, but I just couldn't see how. I was afraid to The girl looked as lost as a child. Because I got an idea. First, she went to the minibar and got a bottle of wine from the after some hesitation. She took it to the kitchen. The exchange looks like it was obviously distressed, but was this really a good time to drink? I'll go for that one. I really kind of thinks it would help her. It was an instance, but said nothing. She wasn't always dependent on it, always trying to say it's always good place. One more reason, often they get along. She always sided with the adults when it displeased me. After all, I was a little boy. I didn't know better. It was like she was just trying to line me up for something. I didn't mind what Ken was doing. I said from the very beginning we didn't need a babysitter. We would manage our own, but Mum wanted to hit in on it. It turned out to be fun now. I guess people call it young apart. She was more like a friend than a babysitter. Three of us were sort of just living together, and all felt much safer for it. But it was becoming pretty obvious that Heather was handling the situation even worse than we were. A call from Mum. I felt awful about Mum. She wouldn't tell me how things were in her, and she tried to seem calm and confident, but I could not see right through her. The whole region was getting dangerous too. Mum couldn't pick us up. Must had almost cut us off, and they fired upon any civil car they saw. Since February 24th, nobody was ever going to be safe. I was in the middle of the house. I had to be there for the game, but who would be there for Mark, considering one made every day longer than the previous one? Katia didn't think that drank since the last time, but she talks it and talk a lot to me, speaking to herself. I felt so sorry for her, but I couldn't help her. She talked to me with a blank look, and one day she started to talk about how we were running out of food. With tears in her eyes gathered up before the front door. I would go out and get us some food from my house. It would only be a minute. After she gave her finger some on the forehead, I didn't even try to escape mine. I was so worried. I made pieces. I tried to get some sweets too. Candles, maybe some newborn games. Don't worry, it will be only a minute. We waited for 3 hours, and all while the dream was coming closer. I sat in one strong with walls. Dream got so bad I was afraid the house would fall on us like a cheap deck of cards. We held each other. We figured probably who she was, one holding me, big sister, and all that. Outside, I could hear roaring of our vehicles' engines, the trucks rolling over the house, the crackling of gunfire. It was all shouting and high-speed death. Bang! Someone slammed into our front door and started knocking on it. Yeah, are you guys inside? Let me in, please. I heard figures hold hand around me. I was scared enough as it was since I recognized the voice. It was local parents. Yana, please. Are you? Is that? He knew Mum since 2015 when she had to get, as he called it, one of them. My main soldiers marked treated over the years. Shut up, the good fellow kept getting closer. I had to help, so, but I also had to take care of her if the Russians found us. Yeah, man. I quickly opened the door, and Joe was from inside. His hat sleeped, and he was shaking from the cold and adrenaline between his thin rag breath. He was laying out what seemed like a chimney. We barely had time to take him to a basement and hide him into old trash when the door to our house flew open. Our lobby flew our house open. Our lobby filled up with Russian soldiers, and bed was a quantity. They didn't carry themselves like military. Most even had their fingers on the trigger. It made the situation all more terrifying. Their commander spoke to me in a grievely voice with a thick accent. "Hello, is anyone else in the house?" I shook my head. Victor did too. I was terrified. God, if they found him. I don't think we did a good job hiding him, but we were lucky. The shore seemed to be in a hurry and barely searched the house. They took our phones though, and laptop and most of our food. But he left after all, and he didn't find Seal Hill. "Thanks, kids," he said. When Victor brought him water, his voice was massive. Of course, when you call your mom, tell her she's an amazing woman. Raise you like a fucking lion. Victor gasped as his language covered his mouth and groined. "Hey, what did you say with Captain Anna?" He did not like the news when we told him. "Damn, and you don't have phones from. Right, your mom will be voice sick." He shook his head. He told us that his turn to events unit was all but destroyed. Nobody expected attack from the north. So managed to fall back to input while the North survived, managed to fall back in it while to have some others stay behind to provide cover. Now he attempted to lie low for a while, but others came to my house. Pardon my French didn't seem rather. They must have gotten a list of local volunteers somewhere. When I offered him to stay with us, he refused out of hand. "No way. You've done more than enough, buddy. If you need help, come find my place at the garage. I'll help however I can." Later that day, I heard more movement outside. Afraid the Russians have returned. Peeked outside through the corner of the curtains. In the twilight, I could make out at least 2 dozen armed figures and a short, stocky man with them, in warm black pants and an expensive winter jacket. "We've been to this one already. Just some kids sitting themselves in fear. Who did you say lives here?" Because the shook man, I knew exactly who he was. He was pretty famous around town and a former deputy of the parliament. He worshipped Russians and had an ego the size of the moon, but I never expected this. "Some no-name doctor, forget about it." The stocky man waved his hand, then clapped his hands. "Come on, we've got all Nazis to chase down. I know all address." Let's call Mom. It's been 7 days since the Russians entered the butcher. Guys still hasn't returned. Time to show up. I kept feeling like the was going to open. The door walked in and tells us some good news worth waiting for. The door wouldn't open. The door wouldn't open, no, but maybe that was a good thing, considering the noise coming from the streets. Every day there was shooting outside, sometimes when someone crying or screaming in the distance, and more vehicles marked with a let's see pass our house every day. But the passing wasn't as scary as when they stopped. It meant they wanted something, and they could come inside our house to get it. The sort of thing that worried me before seemed stupid now. Grace arguing with Vicar and Mom being mad at me. I was such a child. I wouldn't mind going back the time and being a child again. And was still missing. I had to do something. The house was just the name of the street, only 2 minutes walk. I really hated the idea. No, don't even think about it. It's dangerous over there. I rolled my eyes. The city is occupied by Russians. It's dangerous everywhere. And Katya was supposed to come back forever ago. What if she needs help? Her house is the first place to look. Then I'll go. Then grab my backpack strap. You stay home. They said on the news that Russians are killing all men they can find. We're taking a risk too. Don't you know what happens to girls during war? We were both so worried for each other. Let's go together. We're all safer, and if something happens, we'll be able to count on each other. After some hesitation, Vic agrees. Okay, let's do it like that. Well, she smiled a little. And when did you learn to promise? This is an emergency. We can't keep on arguing when the war ends. My river was gone in a moment. Stepped outside. The sea seemed desolate. No cars. No only herbs and trash. No bodies and house. Their doors bashed in. Felt like we were stuck in some post-apocalypse movie. We counted 8 bodies by the time each kind of house, all men, all gunshots wound. This wasn't supposed to happen in the civilizations. I couldn't stand dying to a stray shell or drone bombing, but these people didn't look like they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Their hands were tied behind their backs. The sight of the house stopped us dead in our tracks. The door was broken down. We slowly peeked inside the house, where furniture turned over and shuttered. Even the fridge was on the floor. The floor was littered with broken glass, discarded food, packages, empty bowls, and dirty blueprints. The cat was lying in the middle of it all. It took me a moment to assess what I was seeing. He hugged me and looked away while I was just stood there, taking a deep breath and trying to calm us both down. It was without clothes, covered in bruises, looking up at the ceiling with wide open unseeing eyes. There was a lot of dark blood and old and dried by now. A large pool of it was under his head, and nearby I saw was pistol shells casing. We walked home in a haze. We came back quite lost, but at least we still have each other. It has an impact a little bit. Still, that evening we didn't talk again. Let's call for Mom. It's been several days since we found out about him, and the situation in the city remained the same. Who was shot to the head, but we could still hear loud explosions. The distance are only a reminder that somewhere out there our army was still fighting the invasion. There was no electricity, no heating, and we had no way to reach Ma on the phone. And March was cold this year. We kept our winter jackets on. None of us could cook over the fire, and if we could, we still have no firewood. We ended up mostly eating package of food. Not getting any news was tough on us. We lived in a vacuum and knew nothing about the world beyond Butcher. There was the front line now, which the NATO states influence, and when would we finally be free again? I couldn't stop thinking about Mom. Only now I could really understand how much she matters and how much our brief calls used to help. I'd give anything I had to hear Mom's voice again. I wonder how things were for her. She must have been bored out of her mind with Lloyd. Deep inside, I felt guilt because I didn't call enough, didn't have as well as I could. I didn't value her enough. One morning, me and her were woken up by a noise come on the streets. We could hear the engines orders be given and wanted chance of some soldiers. We were approaching the window, but I hear the Russians rotations sometimes. And that very day, evening, and our door was bashed open. People saw us enter the house. We were jumped to our feet and staring at them. Scanned the building. They turned to us. They were all armed, and one of them with Sarissa was leaving at Pika. Hello, we're here to inspect this house. He looked around. Does anyone else live here? And any adults? I was so afraid I felt sick, so I just shook my head. 3 Russians quickly searched the house. Then, when they returned to the living room, so sat down on the sofa and looked around some more, searching anymore, but presently he clicked his tongue at outfit, asking TV to a house. I think we'll stay here for a while. Our worst fear was coming true. Me and her exchanged a look, something wrong. Can I got your tongue? Chill the hell up. You safe, you from the Nazis, you learned that trick out again. Isn't you grateful? The cat turned her back to the way until she bumped into the wall. I don't think these two appreciate us here. Sergeant aggressive voice, men, get the girl for questioning. 2 Russians grab Pika. I couldn't let them hurt my sister. If they shot me, so be it. But I just couldn't leave her alone. I tried to tackle one of the soldiers, but just punched me right in the face. My head hurts and stung, and the room began to veer. I hear a scream, please don't hurt him. After another punch, I fell to the ground. Tried to get up immediately, and I got kicked to the guts. Another one, again and again. It was desperate, screaming at them to leave me alone. You behave yourself, or I'll fucking strangle both of you. They stopped hitting me, and I could finally breathe in. I tried to get up, but my arms and legs were too weak, and the Russian dragged her into a room nearby. The door slammed shut, offering her please. I saw nothing, but I heard the sound. I knew what was happening behind that door, and I thought I was going crazy because the screams were going to my brain. I refused to believe this was happening. Stuck in the far corner, I covered my ears and sat whiffing, trying to ignore the sound coming from the door. Then she really went quiet, and I could only hear her crying. Then I couldn't hear that. I don't know how long it lasted. By the time the door opened again, I wasn't thinking clear. The Russians ignored me as they went around the house, grabbing whatever they like. Maybe that's typical to the headquarters, so we don't have to walk all the way here again. So fine by me. We put her with the rest of the camp followers. The Russian laughed, and one of them went back to the bedroom and brought out Vika. She was unconscious. They left and took Vika away from me. I couldn't hold back tears any longer. Missed call from Mom. 8 times. Hey, what do you need? Where are your parents? I was confused but surprisingly friendly. I came to ask for help with Vika because I knew when I talked to the Russians as he must have had their trust. That's a long shot, but the only one I had. Gotten very little sleep in the previous days. An hour here, an hour there, maybe because I was too exhausted by looking for things I could do, realizing how helpless I was. I wanted to see more, I wanted to hug her and never let go. Instead, I came to speak using that excuse of a human. Words didn't come easy, but I told him what the Russians did and when they took figure how I just had to climb the house to see the place. Damn it. He bit his lip and looked around. I don't know what he was afraid of. Wasn't he working with the Russians? He faced death out here. Come on in. We'll talk inside. He got me a warm blanket and I put out the kettle. The town still had no electric, but he had a generator and a Russian lamp. Keeps on the gas for it. He asked me for my story again, and I wanted to know every detail, but not to help me. Turns out this doesn't add up. The Russian army is only here for nationalists. Besides, a Russian soldier wouldn't hurt a child. Are you sure they didn't take your sister in question? I wanted to throw up. I know what I saw. I said, I squeezed my dress. The stupid bastards looking for me in the eye and saying things like that. They had their way with her and they took her with them. And they are doing God knows what to her over there. But Russia ain't like that now. Now the Americans see, now they would. Have you seen what the Americans did to her work? I wanted to scream every second I wasted with him. The vicar was suffering, but I had to preserve. The Russians wouldn't keep her for long, and they would not escape unpunished. Meanwhile, as he continued, a Russian officer of honor can't even begin to understand. You are too young. They won't move a hair on your sister's head. Burn in hell, yes they will. I want my sister back. If they are such nice people, why are they holding her? I need to convince him somehow, and quickly. Wish I was at honor. What about this? I lift up my shirt and show him as if my stomach all blue and sickly yellow bruises. What do you think did this? He was gently thrown. Oh my, who did that to you? I could not believe my eyes. I wish I did. I've been telling you for the last hour or so. His eyes glazed over, and we sat in silence for a while. I know an officer, a new one. After the rotation, I will talk to him, invite him for some drinks tonight. I'm sure maybe when they are in a good mood. I'm sure this was a misunderstanding. I didn't want to believe he spent as long as I did in the occupied Bucha, yet stayed so important. Once, but as long as he was going to speak with the Russians, my visit wasn't useless. I'd be a fool to trust as would know. Instead of going home, I set up in a room at home across the street. I need to see the meeting happen. Very soon as he went somewhere and returned, applied by several soldiers, he invited them in, then made a funny face when they didn't bother wiping their boots on the doormat. Perhaps if he himself lie down, they'd be more willing. I left my hiding spot and so closer to the house for a perfume. So she invited set up in the kitchen as I brought out the glasses and the bowls of drinks. Then another when the soldier called him a cheapskate. Once drunk began flowing, Russians did loosen up. So what did you want to talk about? You want the town for yourself? The officer trolled become the narrator. The rest of the soldiers laughed, calling the gluten. No, the locals are already bringing the complaints to me. He didn't mention me by name, but he told the soldiers my story. He was so proud to do so, he probably expected them to immediately debunk it. Michelle just smiled, exchanged a quick glance at the soldier, and mind your business, you fat fuck. Okay, you were doing so well. As his eyes went wide with rage, I'm old enough to be your father. How dare you speak to me like that? Bam! A bright flash, a shark, and a fragment off the kitchen table, and turned after the Castle's body. I froze in place with my eyes closed, my heart been in my ears, something in the air so I won't suffocate. Oh, come on. I heard a clumsy footstep indoors, my ears ringing. Fuck. Did anyone catch where he got the booze from? One of the drawers, right? Backed it away from the window, then through the ruined fence, then I ran. Let's call for Mum's 70 minutes. Can't think about it for the next few days. I knew I couldn't negotiate the Russians as I tried. They killed a man who spent the whole life promoting their Russian world. What would they do to me? One day I overheard some people talking as they cooked the breakfast over a campfire. Soon there was to be evacuation from Russia. I imagined myself leaving the neighborhood I was trapped in for the last few weeks. I could see Mom coming out to meet me. I could see myself falling asleep without worrying if I wake up, if it was something to strive for, but Becca, you want to be a grown-up, here's your grown-up choice, and nobody to ask for your guidance. I was getting swamped by memories of me with homework, spoiling me when we found out Mom and Dad had a divorce, always caring and always kind. What I'm supposed to do? Let's see. I'll go for that one. I don't know what more I realised I couldn't leave her alone. I had to find her and back her out, even if it would be the last thing I did in my life. I remember I wasn't alone. This only hide from the Russians could still be alive. He knows what to do a lot better than I did. This gave me some much needed strength. I was a 15-year-old kid, but I was a trained soldier, but the Russians were in for a surprise. I should go out and sneak through the nooks and crannies, staying out of sight. My fugitive had faded by then. What if he wasn't even alive anymore? And what if he refused to help? I knew saving him was pretty much suicide. I reached the garage and subscribed and carefully knocked on the metal door. So, oh, please let me in. There was movement inside. The door opened ever so slightly. Are you alone? I swallowed and yes. The Russians took her. I need your help freeing her. The hostile opened the door and let me in. Inside I was frozen back. He had made a metal table tried to box. It was on the edge. I could tell he had some pistols in one hand and a grenade in the other. He pointed at the creature, said, "Tell me the whole story." And I told him about the day it was taken. It was so let me talk. When I asked him to help rescue her, he looked me in the eye. Do you understand that she might be dead already? Do you want to risk it? There's an evacuation going on. You should leave. That way, your mum won't have to bury both of her children. I knew he was right. Our chances were slim, but I couldn't leave without at least trying. If this was your sister, would you have left? You could have lived with it. He was over for a long time. Finally, he nodded. Fine. You can shoot. I know it's sure. I've been to firing range a couple of times. That's had to count, right? After some hesitation, so he gave me an unloaded. Oh, here's what we do. It took us a couple of days watching Russia's HQ to come up with a plan. We knew which house the gun was held in, and how many Russians were out in it. We just need a plan to distract them. Lucky Sir had some ideas. When everything was ready, we decided to act. The night was more than lucky for us. I hid myself close to the HQ in the shadows behind the overflowing trash containers, and was supposed to draw out the Russians so that I could sneak in and free her again. The car engine started somewhere in the dark, so we began to his destruction. The two soldiers walked out of the house struck the range out and they fell. Someone inside the house started shouting. The Russians pulled out the streets. One of them shot dead immediately. There was a that took cover. They were firing in every direction. This was my time to act and quickly reached the back of the entrance of the house and got inside. Went room by room, clutching the in my swaying hands, searching for my sister outside. The gunfire continued. When finally I found her, I wanted to scream with joy. The figure was upright on the bed, pale and exhausted, but alive. She was just stared at me. Is that you? I think I said we are leaving. Without waiting, I grabbed her by the hand, took her off, got outside the way I came in. A Russian showed up from behind the corner and took aim immediately, but before I could react to the gunshot, it was, hey, well, get out of here. And when we did, the handgun a few more times, then burst from an assault rifle and silent, and then a loud bang. I remember who had a grenade on him, and I thankfully, I think, we did into the alleyway and came face to face with another Russian soldier. He was silent, but managed to grab the cat as she ran. She screamed. I tackled him to the ground. I could go. Thank God she listened because I wasn't going anywhere now. When I tried to get up, the Russian pulled back down and pushed me into the ground. The last thing I remembered was an explosion in the distance, then hit across the back of my head in darkness. This calls from Mum, 120. Woke up, my eyes hurt at first, but I could hear the smile things again. At peace, I was in a small town like sweat from it and human waste. I opened my eyes to look around. Bad idea. I was on a 2D mountain inside of a dark encamped room with no windows. The only light source was a dim light bulb over a heavy metal door, and I wasn't the only one in the room. There were about 10 men in total, different ages and clothes, some in camouflage, some in jeans, some even tracksuits. It felt like a complete random gathering of people, but they all had something in common. They were all beaten up. Some were unmoving, others talked quietly among themselves. When he noticed me, I tried to sit up. My head was spinning at first, but ultimately I think I wasn't as hurt as I thought. I wanted to ask if anyone knew where we were. The door creaked open. 2 Russians walked in. They brought a man in a bloody shirt with them and threw him on the floor. He hadn't moved. When he arrived, trying to breathe, it indicated he was still alive. Meanwhile, the soldiers grabbed another prisoner, an aged man, and dragged him towards the exit. He didn't persist. I think he knew it was brutal. The door was closed. A few minutes later, there was screaming from behind. Sometimes it was broken up by loud swearing and muffled sound approaching. The realization made me sweat. The Russians detained me in one of their basements. After 8 years of war, everybody knew what the Russians' basement meant. A torture chamber. The Russians' persons put everyone they didn't even like in those basements from political activities and upcoming civilians, and sometimes it was just a way to force someone to part with his business. All kinds of things happened in those basements: torture, humiliation, execution, and now I found myself in those basements too. I shredded for every lip come from behind the door. Eventually they got quieter and quieter. Soon there was no sound at all, at least for a while. Then a deafening bang, a point-blank gunshot. I was shaking. The guy who came before me, I was being up to bump and finish off. This couldn't be happening, not in the 21st century. Then the door opened again, and now the Russians were looking at me. They grabbed me towards the exit. I was paralyzed with fear, and I felt shit. It was like that in my life. I was too scared to fight back, and what could I do against armed soldiers? For a moment, I even thought they could go easy on me if I told them what they wanted to hear. Of course, that was a silly thing to hope for. They would only go easy on me if they choose so. He dragged me to a small room, unlike the previous one, except for a chair sat in the middle of a wall nearby. The blood splatter, so fresh it was, still bright red and wet. The soldier tied me to the chair and stood by the entrance, and I watched enters the officer. He seemed completely indifferent, that was, until I saw me. If it ain't our hero, we're gonna have a little talk about who you are and where from. He slowly circled around me, then jammed me in the chairs, down overconfident and trying to draw a breath. My eyes got wet. Well, we'll be here a long time, but you tell me everything by the time I'm done. You'll sell out your own mother just so I'll stop. The Russians started asking questions I had no answer for, about the Nazis' presidents and Ukraine's military checkpoints, and when I told him I knew nothing, he hit me again and again. He must have thought I was lying, and he didn't even like it at all. I held out some time, but with every news hit my resolve faded. Then instead of using his fist, the Russian took a metal rod to crush his fingers. I was all could I took, but I didn't tell the Russians what he wanted to hear. I murdered Vika and I murdered Katya and everything those Russians have done to us. I set the indicator to the way of the Russian warship. There were questions after that, but they couldn't sign me either. I talk about their mother, their children, their government, and them, and their way of life too. Felt good despite all the pain. By then I had nothing to lose. I don't know how long it lasted, but it felt like forever. I lost unconscious several times, but wake up by dumping cold water over me, then it started all over again. I felt like bleeding. It meets the palm, but the pain got so bad, eventually I checked it out and couldn't hear the question anymore. When I lost consciousness again, they dragged me back to the court cell. I woke up the same dirty mattress as before. By now, the mattress felt like home. I was convinced the basement would be the last thing I would ever see. I was wrong. This calls 154 times. The back of my head smelled like rust. It was damp on the side, and my head was pounding, coming apart. There used to be wool down my elbow and the side of my neck, but it's long since dried up. Couldn't stop shaking, and some hero I'd turn out to be. Back in the basement, the Russians came in and put everyone on their feet. They blindfolded us, scooped straight and told us to move onto the stairs, into the yard, towards the rubber engines of the truck. They were putting us in on a truck. That's where my legs gave out. Couldn't walk. I knew how this was going to end. I heard stories either they drove us towards as the meat shield, or ship us to us as a prisoner, or someone nearby started to, don't do this, you don't have to do this. I didn't do anything, you don't have to do this. They didn't have to do any of it, but they choose to, so I told myself I wouldn't beg. I was the man of the house, I wouldn't beg, but my legs gave out all the same. Russians threw me in the truck anyway, and someone fell on top of me, and all I could smell was sweat and rust, and from it I was choking back tears. My mind went into Vika, and I just hoped she was alright, even if I failed to do enough. I was in a haze when the truck finally stopped. They pulled us to the ground like little crates. My arm exploded with pain. It was dull. If I fractured a bone, it barely should. Get up and walk. When I was too slow, I got a pull or a kick for it. We didn't walk for too long. Eventually they put us on our knees when we heard shovels. Someone among us spat on the ground, end of the line. Someone next to me gulped slowly. Someone swore under his breath. Of course, in Russian, someone with the calm old man voice started to pray. I expected to be more begging, more tears, and deep of the parts of me was glad there wasn't. But I think the adults simply knew too well how this was going to end. I'm not sure I knew I was an adult yet. I just really didn't want to die. And that's when the sound of showing stopped. No. I couldn't see anything, but I didn't need to. I heard when the shot were, so I sprang to my feet and ran the opposite way. There was a shadow behind me. Drop him, someone. I kept running, even as bullets whizzed right past me through the air. I ran around so I could hear rush them more. I made it. The blinding of my hands became loose. I slipped them off, and I tore the scotch tape off my face, and I could finally see again. I we got out of the house, cold and scared but alive. She managed to escape while the Russians were dealing with me. We had a little food, but I let her have all of it so she could rest and gain some strength. I knew the butchers well enough that we could safely escape time. It would take us a day, maybe two. We find Mum. Hopefully I would convince her to leave. I'd say her never leave me and leave her alone again. That's not what happened. I barely made it 10 meters when a shot burst off shot range and something stung me in the back. I felt from the force of it. That was a terrible burn in my chest, and I gasped for air, but the air came, and I started to choke on cough. I lied in the darkness, reason and groaned. My arms, legs became weak. I couldn't even try to escape. All I wanted at the moment was a small breath of air. Like to say, finish him off already. And then one last word, Mum. Thank you. See you on Monday. I got up from the curtains and walked towards the exit in the hospital hallway. The woman in the military uniform was waiting for her. How are you, darling? She tried to hug her door, but stopped when she noticed her shirt ever so briefly. We tried to smile. It's fine, Mum. Her voice was quiet and nerveless. She took a small backpack from the uniform woman and hurled towards the exit. Was sighted. Nothing was ever going to be fine, and Yana knew it. Not after everything her daughter felt under the Russian occupation. Not after, closed her eyes, holding back tears. Now wasn't the time. She had to stay strong for Vika, so that the sacrifice wasn't in vain. He was so kind, brave, and full of energy. He always had so many plans and ideas. After her daughter, she had to take care of her. Her renovation wasn't going well. He begged, talks, and could only sleep under it. Otherwise, the nightmare got too tense. Vika now told her what the nightmare was about, but Fiona could piece it together from the things she muttered in her sleep. I know her returned to the house she used to be kept in. Sometimes it looked like she was there even during the day. And it was only because had children and ended up in the butcher far from the war. Looking at her daughter, the woman with almost no hope for would completely recover as the doctor. She understood as much, but as a mother, she kept hoping for the best, and they haven't even talked about the possible pregnancy. They still couldn't find the right time for that talk or the right words. It was found a week after Russia was liberated thanks to him. She escaped to the Russian troops and hiding in abandoned house until the Ukrainian army entered the city. At first, could barely recognize her daughter, but scared of every noise. The was pronounced shadow of the blooming young daughter, and remembered she was put in a hospital and spent all her time by her side. She hoped her husband would help her get recover faster. So far, it didn't seem to make a difference. They found her in a mass grave. There were over men there with him. The oldest one over 60, the youngest barely 16. It was just one of the hundreds of such graves found in the region. Only now Yana realized how much of a man was. He was every bit of the grown up he claimed to be. What a fool she was, treating him like a child. She wanted him to tell him as much. Wanted to hug him, look him in the eye and tell him she was sorry for abandoning him and Vika. But all she could give her son now was a proper funeral. It was found in the far west of the small cemetery organised for the victims, which was for a professional grave seen to Elysiana. All she could hear was the cry of those gathered here. She was there to bury her son, and staring at his people face in the coffin she couldn't believe her eyes. She wished he would open his eyes, smile and tell her he was okay, that this was all a big misunderstanding. What she wouldn't give for that to be the truth. Vika stood next to her and couldn't stop snoring whenever Yana told her she kept around her. She always looked after him, even if argued as children do. Her death was a heavier blow than everything she suffered at the end. Hands of the Russian at first. Vika was even refused to eat because of it. Only Yana please made her. But if she starved herself out of grief, sacrifice would be meaningless. He gave her door a tight hug. There used to be 3 of them, Yana, Vika and Yara, together against the whole world. Now there was only 2. Maybe one day they would get used to it, unlikely as they seemed. Butcher was among the first town hits by the Russian troops. Russian invasion of Ukraine began on February 24, 2022. After a week of fighting, Russia captured Butcher on March 5th, 2022, and they were only fully beaten back on March 31st, 2022. What took place during the Russian occupation is now considered genocide. As June 412 died, had been committed, buried in a mass grave and left in the street. According to the local authorities, more than 85% of the victims died from gunshot wounds, suggested the killing were private and international. Crimes committed against the civilization population include execution, torture, looting, and evidence suggests that the children were not spared. Bucha became a member of the Russian occupation, but it's far from the only town where genocide took place. As June 2022, an Russian occupation of Ukraine, including the city of and violence continues unabated. The end of the war is not